Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from our very next guest. I have virtually in front of me Jake Kelfer. He's a best-selling author. He's written 3 books. He has one on the way. I'm pretty sure when this episode comes out, you're going to be able to purchase the 3rd one. He is a business coach and very successful entrepreneur. And I had the pleasure of getting to just chat with Jake, and he's helped me get my book out there. So when you guys are listening to this, my book has been out. And so it's just been really cool to learn from him. He has incredible energy. You're going to learn a ton. We're going to talk all about how you can just be a more productive version of you, a better leader, a better worker, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Anything that you do, you could probably do with a little bit more of a flair, a little bit, something more to elevate it a little bit more, hence the title of his book, Elevated Entrepreneur. So anyways, I'm really excited for you guys to hear from him today. Jake, welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast.
Let's go, Tony. I'm happy to be here. Come on now. Let's have some fun.
I'm so excited. So first question is a 3-part question. I want you to introduce yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
I love it. Okay. My name is Jake Kelfer. Part number 1 complete. We nailed it. No. My name is Jake Kelfer, and I am an author, a motivational speaker, and a business coach, helping coaches and online experts really grow their business so that they can make more money, have more fun, and help more people. And the reason I do what I do is because my entire life has always been about getting to the next level. It's always been about how do I get to the next level and how do I bring people to that next level with me? So I started my career working for the Los Angeles Lakers and Kobe Bryant. I wrote my first book at 23. I built a major basketball event that's helped 70 NBA players sign their first contract in over 30 countries. I wrote my 2nd book, and now I have my 3rd book and help entrepreneurs all over the world achieve more happiness and success in their life. And ultimately, I do it all to spread the feeling of elevation and to help people achieve their own definition of success. Wow.
Now, what part of you decided to start that? Like, when did you have this light bulb moment? Or was it a light bulb moment? Maybe it wasn't even a moment. Was it just like who you are? Like, when did you start to notice that you were made for greatness and you were made to do things like what you're doing today?
Well, I think we all have greatness inside of us. I think some of us just don't allow ourselves to express that greatness because when you go for that greatness, you open yourself to being vulnerable. You open yourself to criticism. You open yourself to the opportunity of not hitting the target you set out to. But I think for me, part of the reason I've always been willing to try is because I grew up with 2 parents that loved me. I grew up with 2 parents that always supported me. They were more focused on me giving my best effort than getting what the results were of that best effort. And so it taught me a lot about go for it, try it. If it doesn't work, try again. They taught me the importance of really getting to know people because people can always help you learn more. They can assist you. They can help you grow. And so from a young age, I've always been like, let's go big or let's go home. And then you couple that internal drive with this underdog mentality, because I played basketball my whole life, but I'm a 5'8" Jewish kid from the suburbs. Like, I wasn't destined to play in the league, the NBA, but I was willing to do whatever I had to overcome those obstacles at an early age. And so when I factor in I'm going to go big, and if I mess up, I mess up, with the mentality of I'm an underdog, watch me. I love the criticism. I love the fire. I love the feedback. Like, let's go. That just gave me more permission to be my true self in this pursuit. And I'm still figuring it all out. But I've gotten to a point where I'm so aware of who I am and what greatness looks like for me that I can keep trying every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such a great point that you put out there. And thank you for sharing that and being honest and vulnerable and open about that you're still figuring it out. Because I think that when people see someone who has author next to their name, or successful entrepreneur, or best-selling author, whatever it is, they almost view these people like they put them on a pedestal, and it becomes like intimidating more so than motivating, which I know you're trying to motivate and inspire. But I think that just being honest that like you can have success but still feel confused, like still not be 100% clear, is just so true and so honest. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. I mean, I think that like, look, everybody, no matter what journey you are, there's always more, right? Yes. There's always another pedestal, another person who's ahead of you. And like, if we're always chasing the pedestal, if we're always chasing the person that we think they are, then we're never going to be truly happy in the moment. And part of life is enjoying the process and the pursuit of this greatness. And so like, we got to be vulnerable. Like nobody's perfect. We're all going to screw up. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do shit we don't want to be doing or that we don't think we need to be doing, but we do it and we live it. And we got to find ways to enjoy it even through the ups and the downs.
Well, so let's talk about that, because I think obviously the ups, it's exciting and you love it and it's, you know, easy to experience happiness and joy, right? But I feel like it's those uncomfortable moments, like when you really start to stretch yourself. Like me writing my book really stretched me. It's my first time writing it. Like I hired 2 dietitians. That was a stretch for me, like expanding my business. Like it's brought up a lot of stuff. I've had more anxiety. I'm very open about it. I'm working on it, but it's not been comfortable. So although there's like success there and there's like great things there, there have been really uncomfortable moments. So I kind of wanted to hear from you. What would you say to somebody who is trying to get to that next level, where it's a promotion in their job or kind of maybe shifting careers, and it's uncomfortable? What would you say to them to help them through that?
You got to get excited about the uncomfortable, right? Because look, more times than not, being uncomfortable means changes on the other side. Right. And more times than not, that change is in a positive direction. Because even if it doesn't work out the way you initially intended to, something great will come because you were willing to try. And if it does work out the way you intended it to, well, congratulations. It just worked itself out, right?
Right.
But I think that when we can start to reframe it and not saying it was good or bad, but it was what we were hoping for or a different path to getting to someplace better, we can start to see these opportunities, this uncomfortable situation as a cocoon for growth, right? And when we think about our lives, there's always these moments where our gut's telling us one thing, but our mind saying, protecting us, right? But our gut is always right. Like I feel like it's always right, you know, because you always look back and you're like, that's what my gut said. You know, I watch Netflix or I watch these reality shows and all of a sudden someone's like, well, I should have gone with my gut. Every time their gut leads them in the right direction, right? And we're just humans. So our gut's really, really powerful. So I'd say tap into that, okay? Because if your gut will typically be in alignment with where you really want to go, even if your mind hasn't really realized that yet. But oftentimes we allow our mind to protect us from what could be on the other side of change. The other side of change could sometimes be the judgment of other people. And that's often what stops us, is the fear, not of the action, not of the change, but of what people will think of us because of that change. And so if anyone's trying to get to that next level and you're going through this uncomfortable phase, lean into it. Give yourself some positive affirmations. Trust the journey, express some gratitude, be more present, and release the expectation of the outcome, but still do everything you can to achieve that outcome.
Okay, repeat that. Release the expectation of the outcome, but still do everything you need to achieve the outcome. That's what you said, right?
Exactly.
That was very powerful. Guys, rewind and then rewind again and then rewind again. I feel like that has to sink in, because that is, I think, what it holds people back because of the overwhelm of potential failure, of not being able to achieve it. And then it also makes you miss the journey. Like makes you miss out on life if you're just like waiting to be happy when, right? And then that's like a brief 100%. Moment, you know?
Well, everybody wants something, right? We all want to achieve something, but the game of life is a dance between the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. And if we're always chasing an achievement, there will always be something more, and we will never truly be happy in the moment. But if we are dancing, and I don't say balancing, I say dancing between the art of it, or the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, well, that's when you can start truly living and embracing the ups and downs while getting to that outcome that you desire.
Yeah. Oh my God. So good. I feel like this was so valuable and we just started. Oh my God. So let's talk about maybe some mistakes that you might see people make that might be preventing them from reaching their goals.
I mean, one of the biggest mistakes is not trying. One of the biggest mistakes is not taking that first step. I mean, we've all had somebody in our life, if not ourselves, say, oh, I had this idea, right? I have this idea. And then they sit on it, they sit on it, they sit on it. 3 years go by and all of a sudden they see that idea, kind of like a version of that idea, become $1 million company or become someone who's like totally fit now because they had been working. And you're like, oh, well, that was my idea. Like, see, I could have done that. Well, guess what? You didn't. Mm-hmm. And while some of us want to live in this dreamland, you got to live in action land. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see. And, you know, when I was writing my first book, I was hesitant. I was nervous. And I talked to my dad. And my dad asked me, he said, Jake, do you want to be successful? I said, yeah. Do you want to be rich? Yes. Do you want to marry a beautiful wife one day? Yes. Do you want to have all the things? I said, yes, of course I want all these things. And he goes, guess what? There's no shortcut to getting all of these. And then I paused and I'm like, okay, like that's true. And he goes, but the only shortcut in life is really to start now. And so the number one mistake that we make in our life is not taking that first step in the direction that we believe we are destined for.
Your dad sounds like a very wise man.
He's a superstar.
That's so cool. I think it's so special that you have, it sounds like both your parents are super supportive. That's, and I love that you're taking advantage of that, you know, in the sense of like, you didn't take it for granted. You know, so many people come from just very beautiful backgrounds of supportive parents who understand them and get them and take advantage of it. And I think that you, I mean, like don't take advantage of it, I guess, you know? So the fact that you've just used that to just, you know, jump off, like, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. A lot of people, you know, don't have the family situation that I had growing up with. And, you know, you asked me like why I do what I do. Part of the reason I do what I do and I'm so passionate about it is because I know what it feels like to have somebody in your corner rooting for you. I know what it feels like to have someone who loves you on the journey. And even if you don't succeed at the level you always wanted to, that you could still come home to people that love you. And I think that, like, you know, I'll never understand what it's like not to have two parents that love me. I won't. But what I do know is I can be a vehicle to show somebody that I love you. That I'm here for you, that I want to be with you on your journey, because I think we all need supporters in our own way, you know, and I think that sometimes we can feel alone on the game of life. And when we feel alone, that's what stops us. Our limiting beliefs take over. That voice inside of our head that talks to us way more than we want it to. It feeds us the wrong information. We allow negative thoughts to come in, and being alone can be tough. Now, there's a difference between being lonely and being alone, but we won't get into that. My point here is that part of why I do what I do is because I was blessed to have two people that gave me this advice, this knowledge, and this love. And I hope that I can give that to somebody who maybe doesn't have that someday, and lead them on their journey and be part of their life.
Yeah. And inspire them to create a network, to create a friendship, to create a mentorship, right? I know that you provide that for entrepreneurs. Like you've created a way for people to connect and get together. So, you know, some people, you know, their family life might not be the greatest, but they can make friendships and connections with people that become like family, right? You know, how many stories have you heard of friends that are like family, which is such a beautiful thing. So, I think being to who you surround yourself with definitely helps when you talk about like positive affirmations and our self-talk. I think who you talk to regularly is going to definitely impact and influence that.
100%. I think you have to start with talking to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to fill up your own cup. You got to dial in your own life, because the voice that communicates with us more than any other voice in the world is not another person. It's ourselves. And it's the voice inside of our head. And unfortunately, we allow that voice to tell us things that maybe we don't want to hear. And we take that as reality. Yeah. When we should be feeding our mind with the right things, telling that voice to hype ourselves up. We got to be our biggest hype person. We have to be our biggest hype person. We have to have this relationship with ourselves, because if we don't have it with ourselves, it becomes that much harder to be the person we've always wanted to be around other people. It's harder for us to step into our highest self if we're always letting our talk be negative or our talk bring us down. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think that our relationship with ourselves is critical in terms of achieving success, whatever that looks like for each and every one of us.
Yeah. So let's get into like that success of someone, maybe just to have a more productive day or just like to be able to just take care of their needs more. Like, what are some things that someone can do to make their day a little bit better?
Well, there's a million different things, right? There's so many different things. And one of the questions that I ask in my new book is I ask all these experts. It's an interview book and there's 39 amazing experts. And one of the questions that I ask is, well, what's one daily action that you can do every day to be the best version of yourself? And it was interesting because some of these are the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. Some of them are incredible performers, the governors. We have all types of people in this book. And what I've noticed is that they're all similarities. And a lot of these actions have to resemble something that you need to do within yourself, meaning meditate, read, hydrate, journal, express gratitude, go on a walk, tell somebody you love them. All of these things, they start with us. Mm-hmm. Now, what's really important here is you don't have to do all of those things for yourself. You need to identify what makes you feel good. What's the easiest thing you can do right now to get you started? Mm-hmm. Then it will lead to becoming the habit, right? When you do it over and over again. But you don't have to do a crazy routine where you do everything all at once. You need to pick the two things that resonate with you, that feels good to do, and that brings you the result you're looking for, which is the joy, the productivity, the fulfillment, the self-relationship. And that will allow you to really be able to become more productive and continue to grow on your path.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I'm curious if you can give us a little bit sneak peek of some of those interviews, because I'm excited to read this book. I really am, because I have always just looked up to people. It's what keeps me going. And I love hearing the stories behind, I think we always see, like I said, we always see the highlight reel, but we never see behind the scenes. And I love hearing stories and hearing how people got to where they're at. So of all of those interviews, if you could just maybe let us in on like one or two of them, was there anyone, you don't even have to say their names, I don't know how much you want to disclose, but was there like one person or two that really stood out to you that like said something that really just like stuck with you, or something that we can share with the listeners today that can give them just some hope, inspiration, or some tips to help them?
Well, I think everybody has said something in that book that was like, wow, this is great, but there's one that, like, the one line that keeps coming to my mind, like as we're talking about this topic today, is I interviewed someone named Allison Bird, and she is an incredible entrepreneur. She's a powerhouse woman, like she's just elite. Okay. And she tells this amazing story, and I'm not going to ruin the story for you because I want you to experience it all. But she says a line that is just game changing. And she says, you need to go where you are celebrated, not just where you're tolerated. Mm. And when she said that, I'm doing a Zoom, and when you hear someone and they say something that just hits, you're like, oh my gosh. And that was so powerful, because so often in our life, we just go through the motions. We just we're like, oh, we're tolerated. It's good enough. It is what it is. No, screw that.
Yeah.
This is your life. Go where you're celebrated. Be with the people that put smiles on your face, that ask you questions, that give you love. Like, go where you're celebrated. Mm. And I just, like, it resonated so much with me. And I think it's going to resonate so much with your listeners too, because, it's Tips with Tony, right? So we're always giving these little tips. And to me, that tip was just so valuable, because it made me question, like, am I always surrounding myself with the right people? And if not, am I willing to say no to something in order to say yes to something better? Right? Am I setting the right boundaries for my relationships? And it made me go down all this great rabbit hole type thinking, but it was really, really powerful stuff. So that's like one story that just blew me out of the water.
Yeah, no, and it goes back to what we were saying before, like, be around people who get you, who understand you, who want what's best for you, and genuinely want that. And if anybody doesn't, then it's okay. You have to, like, give yourself permission to, like, separate yourself. I also, small tangent, but I'm curious, I feel like you definitely do this. I think we need to celebrate ourselves, and even we don't need to have people to do that. Like, I think we just need to, like, give ourselves a pat on the back a pat on the back more often, right? Like, I catch myself, sometimes it's like, oh, I'll celebrate when the book's finally out, or I'll celebrate blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, like you could celebrate after a hard day, like have a dance party in your living room, like, like treat yourself, go out, take yourself out to dinner. Like you don't always have to wait to celebrate, right? Am I right? What are your thoughts on that?
There shouldn't be a when after all of these things. Yeah. I'll be happy when. I'll be satisfied when. I'll be rich when. I'll be celebrating when. Let's get rid of the when.
Yeah.
Let's not change it from a future. Let's do it in the present. So yes, 100%. And like, there are two ways that I'm always celebrating myself. Okay. And I talk about this in the book, but I'll share it with you guys because I think it's like, it's kind of hilarious. And it's also like one of these weird things where you're like, you don't actually do this in your life, do you? But
I'm
yes,
curious because Jake, I feel like your energy is incredible, and I just want to know all the things that you do. Like,
yes.
Like, how do you stay this energized? How do you stay this happy? Like, how are you my hype guy? Like,
yeah. Okay. So one of the ways I literally call it the hype up meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And I go in all the details, but basically what you got to do is you got to remove the judgment of yourself. Okay. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to block off 5 to 15 minutes. You're going to put on your calendar. If it's on the calendar, it's happening. If it's not, you ain't doing it. Right. We all know this.
Yeah.
So I put on the calendar. I lock my doors. I barricade it so nobody can see it. I close my windows, turn off the blinds. Like, this is me time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then what I do is I put on like Eminem, Lose Yourself, or I put on like a powerhouse song that just gives me the feels. Yeah. Okay. And what I do literally during that time is I just hype myself up in front of my mirrors. I just go absolutely berserk. I'm jumping up and down. I'm raising my hands. I'm like, let's go. Right. Like I'm doing everything. I'm talking to myself. I'm just saying, this is an amazing, like my life is incredible. The people I'm surrounded with are incredible. Like I am incredible. Like I am the man, and I'm giving myself permission to be not a cocky prick, but I'm giving myself permission to be like the celebrated yet humble version of myself. But there's also a reason why you do it with just yourself, right? Because there is nobody else that sees it. And this just brings a fire through your body. So like, I love doing this. And then the second thing that I do is I take a cold shower in the morning. Okay. Now I always start with warm because I don't want to do just cold. So I do warm and then I go cold. And part of my cold shower routine, amongst other things, is at the end, I do I am statements where I talk to myself as if things are already happening. I'm basically creating my best self, my identity. And one of the things that I always do is that at the end of this, I always start talking about the person I'm becoming, right? I am happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, whatever you want to use for yourself. And when I talk about it, I'm in the shower and I just start dancing. I like, let it rain. I clear it out. Like I'm just in there, and I'm splashing the waters. I'm doing the wave, like whatever it is, because it's just like, why not get a little silly? Why not like do something weird? And when you do that, you kind of like feel the sense of free. Mm-hmm. And when you feel free in those moments, when you're not thinking about the judgment of others, the judgment of yourself, you can really just like be, when you feel free, you can be like, you just remember that, right? Because it's so real and it's so powerful. And like, I'm not the most spiritual guy in the world. Like I'm a pretty logical, like give me the strategy and type of guy, but I am getting to be as in tune with myself as I possibly can because like I said, you got to hype yourself up. Mm-hmm. Because that will give you the energy to be able to serve the people in your life, the relationship that are most important to you at the highest level. Mm-hmm. And we all want that. We all want to be loved by our partner. We all want to be loved by our clients, our employees, our colleagues, our employers, whoever it may be, our friends. Mm-hmm. But when we take care of do things like this, we feed that energy and we can give more to other people because our own cups are full.
Yeah. So, oh my God, I think that's amazing. I actually really love the tip of doing it in the shower because that's something you're already doing, hopefully. So hopefully you're already showering, at least, once a day or so. So whereas like creating as much, I think the other tip is great as well. But if we're really talking about someone who maybe has resistance, I would probably say start with the shower because you're already doing that. So you're just adding on to it. So I think that's really powerful. And then, and then hopefully you could then create some space and time to just like have your little party and, all that other stuff that Jake just described. I thought that's so awesome. So you mentioned about like everyone wants to be, loved, or they want to be a leader in some way. So what are some good tips? What do you think makes a good leader? And how can someone start to be that, whether it's in their home life or at their job or in their business?
Well, I don't think a title means you're a leader. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think like the way we traditionally as society have viewed success as is money, fame, status, title, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we traditionally view success. And now you can be very successful with all those things, but you can also be very unsuccessful with all of those things. Mm-hmm. And so I think a leader is not somebody necessarily that has a specific title, but I think a leader is somebody who can inspire somebody to achieve a result greater than themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that every single one of us can become a leader if we are willing to have a we is greater than me mentality, if we are willing to live by example, if we are willing to do the things that are going to make ourselves and the people around us better. And so whatever it is in your life, if you like, I want to step up a little bit more, right? I want to become a little bit more of a leader. Well, ask yourself, what do you know? What action can you take that somebody else can learn from? I have a friend, and I saw this on Instagram. He's been running 7 miles every morning, and he posted on Instagram all the time. And I saw him share a story today of somebody else who ran 4 miles because he has been running 7 miles every single day. Being a leader is not doing things for the credit. It's not doing things for the money. It's not doing things for the title. It's not doing things for the fame or the status. It's doing things to help people do something greater than themselves. And so wherever you're at in your life, what do you know? What can you do? What are you already doing that could serve as an inspiration to someone else? What can you do? Who can you invite to join you on this path that will help them get to where you want to be? To be a leader, you just have to step up and say it's time. Mm-hmm.
Wow. This is so good. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe you're speaking to my soul. Like, I just feel like you're talking like my language. I hope the people are resonating with this. If you're resonating with this, please screenshot this episode, tag me and tag Jake, and let us know your biggest takeaways, or message one of us. Just like, let us know, because I love this conversation. You are meant to be a motivational speaker, hype guy, whatever it is, and like just all of your knowledge. It's just so helpful. So I'm gonna have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up today. But I think like I love what you're saying about kind of going after success, but not for the success, more so just doing the things that kind of bring that, but not being focused on the end result. So in general, I feel like you're just talking about being just like a higher performer, right? So just focusing on that. So how can someone be a higher performer? Like, what are things we've talked about? Like, you've mentioned a few things today, but what are some other things someone can do to just perform better in general?
Well, so one thing I'm big on here is that, two things I'm big on here is, number one, when it comes to being a higher performer, you need to know what higher performance actually looks like. So a lot of times we say, I want more, I want to achieve more, I want to perform at a higher level. What is that definition of success for you? What is the highest level of performance for you? Get clear on what that actually means, because if you don't have the direction, then you could do all of the yoga in the world and it doesn't matter, because it's not getting you closer to actually what you set out to achieve. So first things, we got to get clear on what does success, what does high performance actually mean to us? Then I'm a big fan of routine, of having routines in your life, whether it's a morning routine, whether it's small daily habits and triggers in your environment, whether it's a wind down routine. And what's kind of ironic about this when it comes to routines is like, routines are meant to be the same thing over and over again, right? And you're supposed to just get into this routine. But I believe that the best routines are the ones that bring you the greatest sense of achievement and fulfillment at the same time. So I think it's really important that even though you may have a routine, it's very important that you give yourself permission to adjust the routine and to test the routine and to experiment with the routine, with the hope that you'll find something better, but never stopping doing the action, doing the work.
Yeah, I'm resonating so hard to this because I've had the same morning routine for like 5 years. And more recently, I've been finding myself more going through the motions, and I'm noticed myself like not doing it as frequently. So I've just like introduced now, instead of just meditating, I'm doing tapping meditation. It's like such a different, it's such a better, it just, I don't know, everything about it. I just like love it. But what you're just describing is like, I was there like a month ago. That's what happens if you don't, it's like your food, right? You could have a very well-balanced diet and you could be eating all these foods and enjoying it. But if that's the same thing, you eat the same thing every single day and you never explore with like a new recipe or new flavors, then instead of if you would have just done that, now you're like, doing all the takeout and, kind of like self-sabotaging and going the complete other way, when really all you needed to do is just make one small shift, right? One small change. So I think that's a really, really good tip. Do you want to share your morning routine with us?
Yeah, sure. So my morning routine as of the recording, right? Like I'm testing it, right? Yeah. But typically Monday through Friday, I'll wake up 5:32. That's my go-to time to wake up Monday through Thursday most of the time. At 5:32, I meditate for 3 minutes. It's literally the first thing that I do. After that, I'll go to the restroom, brush my teeth, whatever. But then I go straight to work. So I do about an hour and a half to 2 hours of deep work. And in between there, I'll take a 10, 15 minute walk outside to kind of get my blood flow going, kind of let the sun hit my face. I'm in Southern California, so like I have that privilege. So I got to maximize it. But I'll do about an hour and a half, 2 hours of really deep work. And then I will stretch. I will work out. I will do the Peloton, or I'll do some type of HIIT training or some type of workout. And then I'll eat. Then I'll shower, then I'll say my mantra, and then I start the workday. So I will do the hour and a half early, but I don't start or allow anything on my calendar except for very special situations, anything before 10 a.m. So from 5:30 to 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., that is my time. And I go through those things. Now, sometimes I've been tweaking certain things, right? Do I do 30 minutes of deep workout, 30 more minutes? Like, do I switch it up? But right now, that routine has been wildly, wildly productive. But the routine that I think has been even more game-changing for me is the wind down routine.
Ooh, I'm so glad you talked about this. I was going to ask you that next, because I think we get so focused on, when you said 5:32 a.m., like you got to have a decent bedtime, I'm assuming, or like a wind down or something to be able to get up like that way so consistently.
Yes. So there is the bedtime routine, but then there's the wind down routine. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the wind down routine, this is interesting. Okay. Now, if you could tell from everything that we've talked about, I'm a big believer in the dance between the work and the life, but I'm all for the enjoyment in the pursuit of greatness. Okay. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that's really hard for me and many other high performers and people who are very ambitious, who want to achieve, it is very hard to turn our brains off. It's very hard to make that switch from work to personal life, to switch that, right? And so I created a wind down routine. I've put this together from all these different people, and I've tried to figure out what works. But whenever I'm done with my work day, whatever time that is, I have a wind down routine. And that wind down routine is I will review the entire day. Okay. I'll review how the day went, what went well, what could be improved. I will write down my entire schedule. I handwrite my schedule for the next day. I will review my top 3 to 5 priorities. Then I will set the next day's top 3 to 5 priorities based on, if all I did were those 3 things, my day would be a success. After that, I expressed gratitude. I mark my habit tracker, and then I express gratitude. And that is the switch that turns it from the workday into whatever I want to do after. And it's been huge.
Yeah. I love that. Do you sell a journal like that? Because you should.
I don't sell a journal like that, but maybe Jake, it's in the pipeline.
You need, I would buy that. Because I used to, it's interesting, like there's different stages of your journey, right? And like, when I was in hustle mode, I was definitely doing that more consistently. But I also noticed that now I'm not like, I just have to like, I think it's just a different energy I give. I'm still working hard. I'm just like no longer doing it where I'm like, no fun, no play, But all that to say, I know that when I do review my schedule the day before and I write out my 3 priorities for the following day, I almost like 97% of the time do them and follow through on them. And it is a really better day and a more focused day. So just thank you for reminding me of that and re-inspiring that in me, because I definitely know that it's beneficial. With that said, if you had a journal that you sold, I definitely would buy it because I think it would just keep everything structured and it would just kind of be a good reminder. And I have journals that I write in the morning, but it'd be like my wind down journal. I love that.
It's a good idea. Maybe a collaboration coming in the future.
We should do that. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Oh my God. Well, this has been so good. Before we wrap up and you tell people where they can find you, is there any last minute comments, topics, things that you wanted to chat about today?
I think we crushed this, to be honest. I had a great time, and I hope everyone that resonated with it. But I would say this. I would say this last thing is live your life according to the ACE method. Take intentional aligned action, build incredibly authentic connection, and enjoy the journey of life. And if you can do that, action, connection, and enjoyment, and you can just make that at the forefront of your thoughts, you're going to have a winning life. And when it's all said and done, you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what? I did it. I'm a champion. Yeah. I won the game of life. And so I hope that if somebody found something good in this today, I know I had a lot of fun. I hope that someone else resonated with this as much as we did, because that's what it's all about. So I hope everyone's having some fun, and I appreciate you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, where can people get your book? So it's called The Elevated Entrepreneur.
Yeah, so the best place to get the book, the best place to get the book is theelevatedentrepreneur.co, and it is free. All you have to do is cover the shipping. We made it free. Sure, you could buy it on Amazon if you want, but we have it on that website. It is free. All you got to do is just pay for the shipping.
Oh my God, so exciting. Good for you. That's great. And where can people find you, on social media, maybe if they have a question?
Instagram is the place where I'm hanging out and spending most of my time, and that's at Jake Kelfer. So we'd love to chop it up in those DMs and have a good time.
Yeah, and I'll put all that in the show notes. Thanks so much for being here. I definitely learned a lot. I hope that you guys found this valuable. If you did, please make sure you take a screenshot of the episode, share it on your story, tag me and tag Jake. If you feel inclined to write a review, or if you're not subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. A new episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. That is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, this is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.